What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Existential Stoic podcast, quick fix number 43, dealing with failure. I'm Randy. I'm here with my buddy Danny. What's going on, Danny?
What's up, Randy?
Yeah, so today we're talking about dealing with
Yeah.
failure because, everybody's going to fail at some point in their life and nobody wants to be a failure. So we're going to talk about how to deal with it.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Nobody wants to be a failure, and we all will invariably fail. And I think it's a funny thing because we always say that, but there's I think being a failure is very different from just failing
I
here and
think
there, right?
nowadays, especially, there's a big hubbub about oh, failures. I mean, I'm almost to the point where who the heck cares about failure anymore?
It
But
doesn't matter.
that being
It doesn't
said,
matter at all.
we're
Yeah.
gonna kick a dead horse or beat a dead horse,
Yes.
do whatever. We're gonna talk about
We'll
dealing
kick
with
it too.
failure. Yeah, right.
Kick
Because
that
what the
fish
heck?
too.
It's
Anyway.
dead. It doesn't
Uh,
care. So we'll talk about
yeah,
dealing.
you were a vet. You should know.
Oh, dude, I've seen my fair share of dead horses and dead all types of animals and cut heads off of animals and everything to send them in for rabies testing.
That's
It's a weird
exciting.
world. Yeah.
It
So,
is.
anyways,
Yeah, it is.
dealing with failure, because that was one of my biggest failures going to veterinary school. Huge failure, incurring $250,000 of debt. Huge failure. So, dealing with failure. Okay. My first quick fix
Yeah.
is write the benefits of previous failures. So, this has kind of two keys in it. So, first, writing it down, because I actually heard that by writing down previous traumatic events, it actually helps you process it and you're able to deal with stuff like that in the future a lot better. So that's the first part of it. But also, it lets you see the seed of the benefit in that failure. So, like I said, for instance, for me, going to veterinary school, incurring $250,000 of debt was a huge failure. However, the seed, the benefit that came out of that was financial education and actually learning how to build businesses so that I could help pay off that $250,000 of debt. So that type of thing.
No, I think I like that one a lot too because I like that it's looking back because no matter I think a lot of us make that mistake where we think every time something happens, we treat it like it's the first time it's ever happened, either in our lives in general, which is usually rare, or in the history of forever, right? It's it's something you probably already went through, or you went through something similar enough that you can look back and you can get through it, right? It proves in a sense to you that you have the ability to make it through to the other side. So I really like that one. It's a good for kind of thinking of it differently. Nice. I guess like to in mind too, because my first one is I think remembering that failure is part of success, that we never succeed without hitting roadblocks, obstacles, whatever you want to call it. They're usually failures, right? Bumps. And I actually heard that most the average entrepreneur, they said, fails or goes bust about 8 times before they succeed. Now that means that a business, they try to plan something, it falls apart, they might go bankrupt. I mean, there's numerous ways they can go bust, but they keep going. And each one is just an opportunity to learn something new and move on. So I think that's a point you have in mind.
And that's a great point because, even businesses, most of them, what they're doing most successfully, what they're known for, was not what their intention when they first started the business.
Yeah.
They had to
Yeah.
pivot and change and go with the environment until they found out where they were getting some momentum, and then they went in that direction. So just seeing that.
Facebook used to be about privacy. It
Good.
was when they started. I think that's funny.
I know the US dollar used to be backed by gold. It used to have some value. Yeah. Anyways, we're getting off topic.
We do.
Number two for me, but that was a good one, by the way. Number two for me is actually making failure the goal. Everyone's so failure averse, but the only way you get through failures is by encountering them and then overcoming them. So actually, if you make failure the goal, kind of gamify it, you'll get to those failures and you'll get over them a lot more quickly. I've seen this in some areas, and it's almost counterintuitive, but as soon as you make failure the goal, it's almost like you can't fail. Because you're trying so hard to get to this thing that you feared that oftentimes you never get there. And then when you do, you're like, was that what I was scared of? Who cares?
Yeah, it's funny too, because I think, it's I like that too, because it's all just about changing your mind and how you're interpreting it. And I think, we're all so screwed up from, conceptions of ideas about failure and stuff that we've picked up from our, childhood and stuff. And it's like, but you can change it. It's all learned. So it's like, I like that a lot. That's nice because it helps you get to that point. My next one was to actually explore. So when you do fail, because it's going to happen, instead of looking at it as a failure, explore what you learned. So write down, what skills did I gain? What did this teach me? How can I move forward now? Or what can I change differently to do something differently, for the next project and the next thing? And in that way, instead of, you're changing the failure into actually just a learning experience and just another thing that has to happen along the way to success.
Dude, and that's such a great one because it turns failure into feedback. Like the big mistake that most people make nowadays is they're paying an absurd amount to go to university to get an education. Whereas literally you could just start working in whatever field you want and you could fail enough times to actually learn it. Now, granted, you can't go and be like a surgeon because that you need to go to school for. But like most things that people want to do, you could learn on the job. So like changing that failure
you do
into
anyway.
feedback. Yeah. Because that's when your brain's like most apt to learn when you're in pain. Because your brain's like, how can I get out of this pain? And failing is like a big enough pain that makes you learn quickly.
And you're actually doing something practical with it as you're learning instead of just trying to memorize arbitrary information. I think there's such a huge distinction too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sweet. So my last one for dealing with failure would be look for what advice you would give your best friend if they encountered the same failure. So this is a huge one because like Danny and I are fortunate we're very good friends. And so like whenever I'm struggling with something, I always look for what advice I would give Danny if he was struggling with this. Because as soon as it's his problem, it's like not as heavy, Because like when it's my problem, it's like, oh, the weight of the world. Oh my goodness, this is terrible. But when it's someone else's problem, it's like, oh, you could try this, you could do this, you could do that. It's really not that bad. You can do it. You're good enough. You're smart enough. And gosh darn it, people like you. And so like, as soon as
God damn it, you're popular.
As soon as you like take this subjectivity off of it, it kind of opens up your mind to look for more possibilities, and also like doing it with your best friend or someone you really care about, because then you really want them to succeed, to learn what needs to be learned from that failure, to overcome it. And so you'd be most prone to find your best solutions for it.
I like that one because, it's actually Aristotle said in the Common Ethics, he said, our friend is another self. And we're actually better at, essentially evaluating somebody else's actions and looking at them and getting a good sense of what's going on because it's external, right? You see things differently. And I like that too, because you're more likely to be sort of compassionate with yourself. Instead of like tearing yourself apart, you're going to like actually be positive and find solutions rather than just being, jerk.
Dude, and it's so funny because like it's weird, but other people's problems are so easy. It's just like, just that, whatever. I'm dealing with this stuff. This is heavy, but that, whatever. I mean, you got it. It's no problem. And it's just like taking that perspective and putting that on your own problems does make them a lot lighter, and your own failures makes them a lot lighter.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot. My last one, and this is more just like a point for the same thing to get your perspective right and your mindset right, is that, keep in mind we only fail when we're actually trying to do things. So the only way to truly fail is just give up. So as long as you're failing, you're doing stuff, that's good. You're moving forward. You're making changes. And I think thinking of it that way, it's just part of life. It's not anything to worry about or stress about overly.
Dude, and like we're always becoming something new. Like as soon as we stop moving forward, we just get depressed and all this stuff. So like it's basically like the process of life where we get one goal, and then as soon as we get that one, we want the next one and the next one. It's just part of life. And part of attaining those goals is failure. So seeing it like what you're seeing it, that it means you're actually moving forward. It's a good thing.
Yeah, life is just doing stuff, right? That's all it is. So as long as you're doing stuff, you're good.
Yep. Great. So that is dealing with failure. Get over it. You're not a failure. You just failed. That's all. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us for this short little quick fix. Hopefully it helped you, gave you some new ideas for how to deal with failure. Make sure to listen to the podcast, watch us on YouTube, catch us twice weekly, once for a short quick fix and once for a full length episode. We will catch you guys next week. Until then, I'll see you later, Danny.
Later, Randy.